Hi and welcome to the first episode of Winging It. We're going to take you trackside and behind the scenes on the Hydraulink War of the Wings campaign. I'm AJ and we're with Louise, and we're going to really work hard to give you a great insight to what happens with the Hydraulink War of the Wings series. We've got our 26th season going down at Cromwell at the weekend, Lou, and weather, I think, was one of the biggest factors.
Yeah, definitely. It was great to get the season started, of course, and with such a big event down there as well with all those international drivers, but I think there was about 4 seasons in one day on that Friday especially.
Yeah, and it impacted somewhat on the racetrack conditions as well, but it is very hard sort of preparing a racetrack with that sort of forecast that they had going, but I think in the main, when you look across the 2 nights, it was a pretty darn good effort.
I totally agree. The racing quality was definitely there within the track surface. There was obviously a dust issue on that Friday night that led to that feature being cut short, which was a massive shame for everybody that was out there. Of course, so much had gone into that. But at the end of the day, safety should be, at the forefront of everyone's mind. But as you say, the conditions of what they were dealing with there, we had 30 degrees at one point, it was blowing a gale, and we had a bit of rain, and there was just a bit of everything going on. So I really do feel for those track guys, because it would have been very difficult to read.
Yeah, it sure would have. And I think one of the real highlights of the Friday night was Brennan Crouch's run in that pole shuffle. Like, he really nailed the flag to the mast with that run.
He did, and I actually had the pleasure of watching that one crowd side, and I just think that the way that you can watch him kind of tackle the unique shape of Central Motor Speedway was very impressive as well. And we knew from Ruapuna the week prior that he was quick in that 46C, so to get to see him really put it to the test and qualify for the pole of that feature, I was really looking forward to seeing how that one played out. Yeah,
it certainly added a whole lot of interest when a guy starts out there as the 5th car going out there and then runs right through. That was very impressive, and we're quite used to seeing Brennan Crouch. He was out here a couple of seasons ago. Isn't he a different driver now? That high limits campaign that he's done, man, he is just absolutely becoming a complete driver.
It's no secret that running 60, 70 shows a year completely transforms a driver, and I think that Brennan was no different. And getting to partner up with CJB Motorsports over in America this year, and he did really well throughout the entire high limits schedule and finished 3rd at Port Royal, which is a massive track as well. So I was really impressed with him throughout the season, and to get to see him come back to New Zealand and watch that growth in person was really cool as well.
Yeah, a couple of other favourites that we're very well used to seeing racing. Joel Myers Jr. had some problems the first night. He just wasn't quite there. They had an engine issue. And one of the things I really liked was Jonathan Allard. That guy has absolutely got it. The previous week he chalked up his 201st feature race win. What a career. And Jonathan Allard, he is definitely there or thereabouts for the national title.
Oh, I totally agree. I think that he is one of those drivers that you can just never really count out. I think that, he's consistent throughout kind of everything that he does, and it actually is, I think it might be overlooked or slightly, overrated just how special it is that we get to watch Allard race. He's a Hall of Famer from Northern California, and he's got such a pedigree of racing behind him, World of Outlaws wins, it's a very special thing to get to watch him, and I think that, in Cromwell as well, he was, at the top of his game for some of those races as well.
Yeah, and the other drivers that were down from the USA, young Brian Murphy, Brian is finding his feet in the very early stages of his career. Mariah Reid, she had some good moments out there. Of course, Caleb Montgomery and Tanner Holmes, they were as classy as we expected them to be.
I totally agree, and everyone had their moments in their own rights as well, but it is a huge task to come halfway across the world and get into new cars. With some of them are running different motors, and they're not quite 410s, and it's they've got kind of all these things to adapt to as well that really adds to the package for them that they've kind of got to get used to. So I think it was really cool for them to get 2 nights in Cromwell, even if they didn't quite get 2 features in, but we'll be looking forward to seeing how that progresses into this weekend at Ruapuna as well. But I was absolutely rapt for Brian. I know that Friday night didn't end how he wanted it to at all, but the speed that he was showing, and he qualified for that A main without having to come through the B, so he was absolutely rapt with that, and to be all the way over here and get to race a track that his dad's been putting so much time and effort into is really special for them. So I was rapt for Brian.
Yeah, it wasn't all about the visitors either. Like, there were some very, very solid local performances across the 2 nights. A couple of names I am going to pull out. I thought Dylan Forsey in the second night's dash. I just thought that was a very complete run for him. And Finn Cleveland, he's a guy that maybe does 1 or 2 shows a year. What a shame that we don't see more of Finn Cleveland. He was rock solid.
I think there's quite a few guys down in Cromwell that we don't see come up this way very often, so when you get to watch them race, it is quite impressive as well. And there's guys like Harrison Brown, who's now in a sprint car as well, and that was fun to watch him. I think he was at the front of one of his races there next to one of the Americans, and it's a big task to be put up against people that race so many times a year, and they all did really, really well. So I was rapt for all of them.
Yeah, and Jacob McIntyre, of course, he probably stole the march on all his rivals from around New Zealand with bragging rights, especially second in that Saturday night A main was superb.
Yes, he was. And his younger brother Josh also stepped into the sprint cars now this season, and he's given his ride up for Tanner Holmes for these 2 weekends, and they've got a really good relationship with Jason Scott down there, and Jason was lucky enough to have a kind of extra car there that he could put Josh into, and Josh honestly was as a rookie, you wouldn't really know it in some of those races. He was gaining a lot of speed and he was putting on passes, and there was a couple of times where the track was a little bit slippery and things like that you expect mistakes like that as a rookie, but just the overall speed, I think that, Josh has got a long career ahead of him in sprint cars.
He has, and there was some other really, really good performances from the Kiwis. Daniel Thomas, I thought Daniel delivered before he was involved in a big crash. He just delivered to everyone what a class act he is.
Yeah, and it's so good to have Daniel come down, and he knows how important that title is coming up in January, and for them to make the big trip and with the plans to leave the car down there, of course, until the title, and hopes for no damage didn't go so well, but yeah, I think that he carried as much speed as we've seen him have in the North Island as well with those wins at Bay Park already.
Yeah, heat race win also for Caleb Bourne. I think the Montgomery factor is already paying off for the Bourne racing team.
And I knew that they give off similar vibes, that they are very kind of similar people, I think, Caleb, and I had a feeling they were going to gel really well together, so I'm glad that it worked out for them, and of course Caleb getting the feature win and then Caleb Bourne getting the heat win as well. I think that they should mark that as a very successful weekend for Team Bourne.
Yeah, absolutely. The first night didn't end particularly well for our series champion Connor Rangi. He got involved in a crash, and the car was too badly damaged for them to continue racing on the second night's racing. That also took out Steve Duff Jr. So, we're sort of not quite sure where Connor Rangi is at. He certainly ran very strongly here at Ruapuna earlier in the season, but in the Saturday night feature, Jamie Duff's run, he was pushing Montgomery and he was almost locked into that second position, just went out a little bit wide at that exit to turn number 2 at Cromwell, and he's not the first and he won't be the last driver to be caught out by that bit of real estate.
Certainly not. It's very easy to do there with that unique shape, but yeah, as you say, Jamie's run was very impressive. There were several laps there in the beginning of that feature where I thought that Jamie was going to almost make a pass on Caleb as well, so it would have been really cool to see that battle kind of eventuate. Of course, that red light coming out for Daniel Thomas's crash reset everything, and that's where we saw that mistake come in from Jamie that had him finishing 4th in the end, but still a really solid performance for him after missing Friday night.
Yeah, and I do think that every one of the South Island drivers can emerge from this thing with some real credit and some real feeling about what is involved to race against class acts like the Caleb Montgomerys and the Tanner Holmeses of this world. That a lot of them have raced against Jonathan Allard and Joel Myers and Brenham Crouch, but I think a lot of these guys will have emerged from that with some real confidence.
Oh, definitely, and I think just the sheer number of Americans as well really adds to the whole atmosphere of who you're up against at all times. It's not just you may get Joel in a heat. You've guaranteed pretty much to get an American or two in every heat for these 4 meetings of internationals. So I think it really elevated the game, and it was very obvious.
Yeah. So we set loose with the camera down in the pits, and here's a couple of interviews.
Joining me now is the driver of the 19C Duff Motorsports, Jamie Duff. Jamie is the winningest feature driver of the Hydraulink War of this Wings series with 30 feature wins. Jamie, you've been competing in the Hydraulink War of the Wings for a long time now. How do you think that it's evolved throughout, you being a competitor and seeing the changes that have come through the series in its time?
So when I started racing in the series, it was like the old dudes, I guess, the originals, which was cool, and I was sort of the new young face. It's evolved into a lot of the old guys owning cars and setting them up and putting young drivers in. It's it's definitely more competitive. The skill level's grown, the prize pool's grown, the professionalism in all the teams has grown. So it's really good to see. It's just great to sort of be a part of that journey, I guess.
With this year's series being extended to accommodate some extra rounds for the American invasion happening at Cromwell and Ruapuna, do you think that that's yet again elevated the series? And what's your take on, getting to the opportunity to compete against these Americans?
Yeah, so I guess our mantra this year was to sort of stay away from the politics and the SNZ side of things and just focus on the racing. And anytime you can bring someone or another level of experience in from another country, it's great for all the competitors to, again, raise their knowledge and their ability. So again, it'll just help build the series for future generations. You've got guys like Dylan here racing really hard. I used to race against his auntie. I mean, we sort of started at the same time. So, he's probably the future of the franchise, I guess, if you want to call it that. But yeah, this is just good for him, good growth all around.
You've actually got some American experience under your belt as well. A few years ago you headed over, did a stint over there. What do you think were your takeaways from that back then that you've seen be implemented into the series as well?
I think it's more about the show on that side of things. I think the racing's still very similar, although more competitive. But they're actually putting a good production together, more crowd engagement, and that side of things is, I think, where the series is building towards and where the success will be.
So turning our focus to this season's War of the Wings has obviously got a lot of competitiveness throughout all of the field. As you spoke about, we've got a lot of young drivers coming through as well. What are some kind of takeaways that, this is your first round of the War of the Wings tonight here. So what are you expecting to come from on this version of the series?
That's a hard question for me because I'm sort of probably 20 years in it now. I wouldn't say I've stopped caring, but I've stopped worrying about that side of things. I'm just here to have a good time. These young guys keep trying to rise up. I'm going to try and stomp them down, and I'm going to do that for as long as I can. So that's the aim for me for the next few years.
Well, thanks for your time. That is Jamie Duff, winningest feature driver of the Hydraulink War of the Wings, with his eyes set on this season's version of the series. We're here in the pits with Zach Sokol, driver of the 47T. Shifted his sprint car operation down to the South Island with the focus this season towards the title, this American invasion and the War of the Wings as well. There's lots going on in the sprint car scene in the South Island this season. We thought we'd catch up with you, Zach. You got a bit of a taste for the Hydraulink War of the Wings last year, competing in it towards the middle and end of that season there. What was kind of your first initial reactions to being a part of the series?
I think I just like the versatility of the series, to be completely honest. The fact that they go to a whole bunch of different tracks. When we ran our meetings last year, we were at, I think it was Ruapuna, Nelson and Blenheim. Never been to Nelson or Blenheim, but just the fact of running on different tracks with different people, and you just get all sorts of different laps with different people, has kind of made it worth it,
You've done stints in America as well. Do you think that there's any similarities between, running the Hydraulink War of the Wings and kind of what you experienced being a part of those shows over in America as well?
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely some, obviously the road thing and, bouncing between cities and all that sort of stuff. And then obviously this year, hopefully racing for points and stuff as well. It's all that consistency that order pays off at the end,
So as one of the younger sprint car drivers in the field, and you've made your mark with 2 feature wins here at Cromwell this season as well, what were some goals that you set coming into this year's series and this year's season as a whole down in the South Island?
Yeah, I think it's just getting laps at all these different tracks, right? There's only probably like a handful of guys that will show up anywhere and you go, okay, he's going to be hard to beat, So the goal is to try be one of those guys, and you have to sort of race all these good guys to get better yourself. So it's all just experience for us. We just try to get these laps under our belt, get ready for the title, hopefully do well in the War of the Wings series, and just do sponsors and partners proud, really.
So not only are there obviously feature races on each night of the War of the Wings as well, but that overall points table is what most people are chasing towards. What do you think makes a good points racer?
I think just consistency, obviously you have to be aggressive and try to get yourself to the front of the field, but you've also got to be patient and smart about it at the same time, because DNFs aren't going to win championships, right? So yeah, it's just the consistency, I think, really.
So you're pretty much a father-son team here. Your dad, Ozzy, has been down here in Cromwell doing a lot of the work. What is the dynamic like between you guys on race nights and working on the car to get it prepped for race day?
Yeah, no, good. it works with a limited amount of us as well. It's it might seem like, oh, there's only 2 of us doing stuff, but when you have a dynamic that works as well as us two working together, it just, you know, flows really nicely. And having Hayden helping us out for a couple of rounds as well, and he's just fit into the team perfectly. So everyone knows their job, they know what they need to do, and we all work well together. So yeah.
Well, best of luck for the Hydraulink War of the Wings. One to watch in this year's version of the series, Zachary Sokol.
Well, Lou, that's a really interesting perspective from 2 different drivers. You've got Jamie Duff, you know, the seasoned campaigner, and then you've got Zachary Sokol, and, you know, 2 very different approaches to the sport and so on. Zachary Sokol, you know, this kid is a real talent, isn't he?
Yeah, and with already 2 feature wins at Cromwell under his belt this season, you know, they've spent a lot of time down there and a lot of money to kind of shift the program down to the South Island. And I think it was at the podium at Ruapuna when Zach said that, you know, this is where you want to be for sprint car racing. And I mean, I totally agree, and I'm sure it'll pay off for him in the long run.
Yeah, and of course Zachary Sokol also, the last 2 New Zealand winters, has gone up to the USA and raced as well. It's starting to show that, you know, the more laps that guys get under their belts, the more prepared they are, they're ready for the chaos.
Oh, definitely, and it just keeps them race fit for as long as possible. You know, that off-season break of 6 to 7 months with no laps at all, while you've got guys like Joel and Max when he was racing here, and then Zach as well, and, you know, they're doing those extra shows to really stay sharp, and it pays off for sure. Yeah,
okay, before the ad break, here's a question for you. Who is the winningest driver in War of the Wings history? You might just have the bit of a clue there. Well, if you guessed Jamie Duff, you're dead right. Jamie, 30 feature wins in Hydraulink War of the Wings history, and he was just a kid when he won that first one, way back in 2010. Interestingly, he headed home Matt Honeywell, who's still a big part of the series, and Ray Bourne, and it was right here at Ruapuna in 2010 in November. So, you know, he's cut a lot of laps since then.
He sure has, and to see him still be able to win, and he's battling up the front all the time as well. And I've always found Jamie really impressive to watch, and to know that, you know, he gets to hold this title, and no one's close to the record. Of course, second place is Joel, I believe, with 14 wins for the War of the Wings. So it's a long way to go to get to 30 still. So it's impressive for Jamie to be able to hold that record. And, you know, the Hydraulink War of the Wings is such a big part of sprint car racing in the South Island, and the Duff name has been for a long time too. So it's really cool for them.
Yeah, and if you're wondering where Jamie was on the first night of racing, well, Jamie's one of those sorts of guys. He's exceedingly loyal, and his long-time crewman Jeff Hallahan was getting married, and so that came before speedway racing. But boy, the Duff man was primed for night number 2. Well, it certainly was an opportunity for everyone to have a wee time to shine, and Gus Dawson continued his rise in speedway career stats with a good B main win that first night. And you know, it would be very easy for those young guys to be slightly overawed by it, but with that Gus, he gets a tiger by the tail.
And he's right in amongst it too, which is really cool for him. So, I mean, I think that watching his development in sprint car racing as well, we talk about the changing of the guard a lot, and I think that Gus is part of that for sure. And yeah, it was definitely cool to see him lock it in through that B main win on Friday.
Yeah, and at the other end of the career standings, Jason Scott, the co-promoter of the show, apart from the massive undertaking and the logistical challenges in putting this thing together, how good to see Scotty take out the B main. A little bit of reward for him, and he can keep a wee bit of prize money.
I think he was just rapt to be able to be a part of the event. You know, there's one thing to be on the management or promotion side of it, and for him it was a lot of work and a lot of logistics, as you say, to coordinate the drivers and their families getting here in time. If anyone was keeping up on social media, there was some issues with Tanner Holmes's domestic flight in the United States as well. So, you know, there's all those headaches that he's thinking about and trying to plan around, and then to get the opportunity to race at a track where he's been crowned the king of so many times as well. So it was really cool to see him get the opportunity to be a part of the event as well, not just, you know, on the management side.
Yeah, so let's have a look at a couple of wee highlights from the weekend, brought to us by Royce Clive Engineering of 520D Blenheim Road. You scuff up those mag wheels, go into Royce Clive Engineering and they'll sort you out.
where we'll see him go up against the 46C machine of Brenham Couch.
Entering the battlefield is the driver out of Lubbock, Texas, Brenham Crouch. Next driver out will get the lane choices. He buzzes off some dust up there in turn number 2, trying to find his limit. Oh, you can't ask for a nicer sunset off of 1 and 2. That's as picturesque and beautiful as you can get. Sockall going to be on the bottom. Crouch going to be on the outside for the next round of the pole shuffle. Again, these are the top 8 drivers after the heat races when it comes to points. A double heat format here on night 1 of 2. Zachary Sockall's been victorious this year here at Powderworks Central Motor Speedway. Can he fend off Brenham Crouch, the Kubota High Limit Racing regular? We're about to find out. Into turn 1, move Brenham Crouch out to the lead, trying to catch that high side. Looks like he'll do so. Crouch sails it in way wide off turn number 4 down to the white flag. Crouch once again flirting with that high side off turn 2, kicking the dust up in the air. Final set of corners for this round of the shuffle. Brenham Crouch from Texas is moving on. And Darrell, he's going to face the guy that we've talked about a little bit so far tonight, Daniel Thomas.
Yeah, Daniel Thomas just getting started there. You can just watch in that one there, Brenham Crouch starting to go right out wide around turns number 3 and 4, just looking for every bit of grip he can. He's the first car tonight that's really hung it on the wall. Chasing speed, chasing every bit of grip he can. Just a friendly reminder, folks, just a couple of cars down the back straight in that pole shuffle there, just with their lights on. There's still one car there at the moment, right in the middle of the back straight with their lights on. Thank you very much. So set to go. We've got Crouch on the inside. Daniel Thomas, the current 2NZ, former New Zealand Sprint Car champion, on the outside. This here should be a battle for the ages between these two cars. Battling for 4th and 5th in the pole shuffle. Nice run by Crouch down into turns 1 and 2. Thomas, oh, with a nice run out of 2. He thought about a wee look down the inside. Pulled himself back. Look at Crouch right out on the wall here around 3 and 4. There is nothing between the wall and the right rear on the 46 machine. Powers down the back straight. He is showing some form, and he's going to move himself up the order here with a beautiful drive. Brenham Crouch fires on through to the next round.
Next to last round in the pole shuffle. Coming your way any second. Drivers getting a little antsy out there. They're ready to go. And looks like lights out. Lubbock, Texas versus Jacksonville, Oregon. Brenham Crouch, Tanner Holmes. 2 laps to decide who is going to take on Jonathan Allard in the final round of the pole shuffle. Edging towards the start zone. Green is out. Side by side, entering turn 1. Give the lead to Brenham Crouch. Tanner Holmes trying to get some traction off turn number 2. Into 3 and 4. Crouch once again sails that thing way upstairs in turn number 4. Final time around coming up. Crouch so far up, a little too wide. He tags the wall. Can Tanner Holmes take advantage? Brenham Crouch flirting with disaster, but doing a mighty fine job up there, and he is going to move on to the final round of the pole shuffle. Brenham Crouch gets it done in the 46C. So one more round to go, Darrell.
So, of course, Crouch coming to this one here, qualifying in 5th place. He's now battling it out for a position on the front row of the grid. He has been absolutely outstanding so far in this Hydraulink War of the Winks pole shuffle. So he will go up against some pretty fierce competition here, though, in the form of fellow American Jonathan Allard, the Dalton's 4 USA machine, just deciding what line he wants to go for. Look at this. He went down low and then he shot to the outside. So a little bit of gamesmanship going on here. This should be one heck of a battle. Allard and Crouch. I'm sure Allard's still playing the game there at the moment. He is going to head to the outside. The lights are out. 2 laps to decide the front row for the feature race a little bit later on for the Hydraulink War of the Wings. Round number 1 here at Powderworks Central Motor Speedway. Crouch leads him down into 1 and 2. Allard with a big look down there. Couldn't quite get the job done though. Can Crouch come from 5th qualifier to take pole position here in round 1? It's looking likely. He is right out. Every inch of track is being used by Crouch. He's doing an outstanding job, and he's got 1 big corner to go to put the 46 machine on pole here tonight at Powderworks Central Motor Speedway.
Let's have a look at the A main, and that was a classic dockyard brawl, wasn't it? And you know, the racetrack always changes over the course of a 30-lap race and so on. A little bit of a blooper part way through with the white flag coming out after the 9th lap, I believe it was. But anyway, they got that sorted out. But just watch the highlights on this one and keep an eye on Tanner Holmes. He started from 20 in the grid, and boy, did he run through the field.
He sure did. It was a very impressive run there for Tanner. So it's not one that you want to miss, because, I mean, for his first real feature in New Zealand, he had his work cut out for him, and he made it work.
We're ready for 30 laps of War of the Wings sprint car action here at Powderworks Central Motor Speedway. It's the USA Invasion, brought to you by Phantom Engineering as we go racing. Montgomery skips to the outside, Forsey on the inside. Do they get through 1 and 2 cleanly? So far, so good. Tanner Holmes goes out towards the wall. In fact, it's McIntyre. Tanner Holmes at the tail of the field. Montgomery skipping out early in this one here. Making hay while the sun shines. Front wheels in the air for Daniel Thomas, the 2NZ, as he came out of turn 2 and hit the back straight. McIntyre in 4th. Duff has managed to sneak past him. He's up into 3rd place and chasing down Dylan Forsey. Has a big look on the inside. Forsey and Duff battling it out for 2nd and 3rd place in the early stages of this race. Caleb Montgomery from the United States of America coming right out wide around 3 and 4. Down into that tight turn 1 and 2. Who would have thought? About 4 laps into this one here. And Montgomery almost up there with lap traffic around 3 and 4. The dust starting to come up down there. Who would have thought with the rain we've had, things would dry up this quick. Forsey holding on to 2nd place. Then we go back to Duff. Jacob McIntyre, the mighty silverback, he's in a great battle with the 2NZ of Daniel Thomas. Then we go back to Allard, Joel Myers Jr. The Kiwi's doing a great job here, but it's an American out in front. It is Montgomery in lap traffic. He's managed to get past Harry McIntyre, but he's got a ton of lap cars in front of him. He's got, there's a car just crossed up there. That's Jason Scott, the King of Cromwell. Got it all wrong, coming out of 2. Montgomery ducks to the inside. Here comes Forsey on a charge. He's looking pretty racy as Dylan Forsey trying to chase down Montgomery. Has a look down the inside of Scott. A little bit of contact as they come out of 2. Jamie Duff saw that. He's closing the gap now as well. This is great driving right across the field here in this feature race for the Hydraulink War of the Wings. Can Forsey reel in Caleb Montgomery? Montgomery really... there's contact on the wall there. Was that Robinson in the 8 machine? It was. And Duff now challenging right down the inside of Montgomery. He's moved up to 2nd place, having a look on Montgomery down the back straight here. The Duff man putting the pressure on. Forsey's into the wall hard down there between 3 and 4, but he manages to keep on going. McIntyre putting pressure on him. He goes out and kisses the wall into 2. This is crazy stuff out here in this feature race. You don't know where to look at the moment, folks. All eyes are on car number 95, Caleb Montgomery. He tucks in behind Harrison Brown. Jamie Duff still giving chase down the back straight. They're trying to get past Brown. Montgomery on the outside, Duff on the inside. Then we go back to McIntyre, who's up to third place. Forsy's fallen back. It may be from that damage where he hit the wall down there between 3 and 4. Jamie Duff, he's got the bit between his teeth. Can the Kiwis upstage the Americans? The white flag is out. Who would have thought we would have gone the distance in this one here? Montgomery high and wide gives the wall a bit of a kiss with 1 lap to go. Jamie Duff trying to take advantage of that. Around 3 and 4 we go. It's going to be Montgomery takes this one here out. What a drive. McIntyre into the wall. There's a rollover on the main straight here after the checkered flag. Grab a halftime orange and off we go once again. Once again, folks, a massive thanks for coming out over the last couple of nights. A huge thanks for everybody involved in this meeting. Peter Murphy, Jason Scott, absolutely fantastic job of putting this event together. A massive thanks, of course, to the committee of the Hydraulink War of the Wings. They always put together such a fantastic series. It's an absolute pleasure from my point of view to get to call these sorts of sprint car series. They're a high caliber series and absolutely love it. So a big thanks to AJ and his team for letting us call these. Sensational job here at the Hydraulink War of the Wings. Green flag drops. Let's try it again. Caleb Montgomery heads him down to 1 and 2. Duff follows. Then we go back to McIntyre and Forsey. Allard loses a spot there to his fellow countryman Joel Myers Jr., who's now up into 5th spot. Caleb Montgomery just gives the wall a bit of a kiss coming out of turn number 2. They are looking for every inch of grip they can here in this final. The A-main for the War of the Wings. Allard almost comes to grief. The 4 USA giving the wall around 3 and 4 a massive hit. McIntyre in 3rd place. Joel Myers Jr. has managed to sneak past Forsey. He's got McIntyre in his sights as Josh McIntyre, I think it is, heads down to the infield. Tanner Holmes still working his way through the field now. Goes to the outside of Caleb Bourne. Levisic just up ahead of him. But out in front, it is still the 95 machine of Montgomery. He's managed to pull away from the Duff man. Half a dozen car lengths exiting turn 2, as is Duff. Then it's McIntyre, Myers, Forsey. Here comes Brenham Crouch. He was the fast man here last night. He picks himself up another spot in this one here. Allard's coming back again. He dropped a couple of spots. He's now putting pressure on Forsey. Then we've got Levisic. Tanner Holmes, who started at the rear of the field, working his way through. Montgomery now getting back to that lap traffic. This is where Duff managed to catch Montgomery last time around, was when he started to get involved in lap traffic. Around 3 and 4, Montgomery just behind Harry McIntyre. Oh, there's a car sideways. It's Jason Scott down between 1 and 2. Can he keep the 88 machine going? He does so. Well done, Jason Scott, but he's going to park up. He's had enough. The race continues on. Montgomery in the 95 tries to find a way past Harrison Brown. He's down low. Tucks in behind Harry McIntyre. Gets the pass made cleanly. He's got 2 cars between himself and the Duff man, Jamie Duff. Through they come. Jacob McIntyre still holding on to that 3rd spot. Oh, Duff's made a mistake coming out of 2. Here comes McIntyre up the inside. He's up to 2nd place. So McIntyre, Duff and Myers Jr. is your battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. 2 cars between McIntyre and Montgomery, but Montgomery is a straight length away. He comes around 3 and 4. Car number 95 is your race leader. Tucks in behind Finn Cleveland. McIntyre behind him, Harry McIntyre that is. Jacob McIntyre in 2nd place. Then the Duff man, Jamie Duff. McIntyre, the mighty silverback, he's managed to pull away from Duff. Joel Myers Jr. starting to threaten the inside of Jamie Duff. He's got his countryman right there as well in the form of Brenham Crouch. Caleb Bourne comes through. Mariah Eade comes through. Our flag man looking for the white flag this time around. And he's looking for the 95 machine of Montgomery. He's down the back straight. Oh, a little bit of contact there as he comes round 3 and 4. The white flag is out this time around for Montgomery. Montgomery out of 2, down the back straight. He's been an absolute talent here tonight, folks. He hits the 95 into turn 3 and 4. And it's Caleb Montgomery. Jacob McIntyre just out there checking over the car. Myers Jr. getting a helping hand down to the infield. He'll be stoked with that there. He had a tough race. But as I say, he just picked off cars one by one as they came on through. So grab yourselves a posse, folks. Get comfortable. Here goes Caleb Montgomery up on the wing of the 95. Put your hands together, Cromwell. Absolutely fantastic. We're going to head down to the infield. Gary's down there to interview the winner, Caleb Montgomery.
Well, thank you very much, Daryl, up there. What a drive for Caleb Montgomery picking up the USA Invasion tonight. This beautiful 95 sprint car. Whooping on the field, perfect lap traffic, put this car in every possible spot that he could. We'll get Caleb up here front. And Junior, third place, going to give him a high five. Well, Caleb Montgomery, you're a long way from Templeton, California. Talk to us about this race car. You were a badass off of turn number 4, pretty much every spot on this track. Working traffic like a madman. Congratulations, you're a winner in New Zealand.
Thank you, Gary. It feels pretty good. Shout out to my mom back at home. I know she's staying up watching, and shout out to all my friends. This track was in tip-top shape. There was a couple times where I had a little tight in lap traffic and I had to plug my wing back forward, but I was able to ramp up the curb, and then there in the middle stages of the race, it felt like I was on the curb and kind of getting, and then blasting it coming off of turn 2, and that was pretty good, boy. That was a good racetrack.
That's 1, 2.
There, felt like it was too hard to consistently hit the curb, so I just backed it down under the bottom. But man, this 95 USA was on kill. I can't thank Ray and all the guys enough, and everyone here tonight. Thank you for all the fans for coming out. This facility's absolutely amazing, and it's second to none down here in New Zealand. I'm extremely grateful for all the guys bringing me out here. Jason, Pete, everyone, Scotty, everyone down at Edge, everyone here at the Highland Performance. I mean, this place is beautiful, but it definitely wouldn't have been possible without Ray, Caleb, and Jake, and all the guys back there. And man, that was cool. Be sure to get a shirt, and I think it's crate day or something. I got to drink some crates now.
That's what. Talk to us about this track too. How tricky it is to run these corners. I mean, 1 and 2 is kind of wide open, or not wide open. 3 and 4 a little different here, but it looks like a tricky damn track.
Tricky. It's really tricky, GT. I mean, 1 and 2, I'm constantly changing, constantly feeling like I'm not doing enough, so if I see a big spot on the fence, I just try and aim for it, and that'll usually. So I was just trying to aim for the curb coming off and aim for the curb and the. Oh, there we go. We're just cutting out. You got to hold your hand steady.
I think we're in Tulare right here now with the Tulare microphone.
Yeah, we're a long ways from home, but we're still at Tulare, and we're banging the boards like it's Tulare. I mean, this track was completely unique, but completely badass in the same sense. I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity, and glad we could for the guys because they worked really hard.
We'll go.
Hell yeah, it's great day.
Caleb Montgomery, everyone. Asian. Central. Well, it makes a noise. So Jacob McIntyre gave it a hell of a run there in the main event. And Jacob, your high points after the heat race. And talked about that main event. You had a little bit of a moment over there in turn number 3, but made a nice save.
Yeah, if I took Daniel Thomas out, I'm very sorry for that. I don't like racing like that, and that's not how I want to race. So very sorry to that team if that was for me. Also, I just want to say massive thanks to everyone staying through the rain. We wouldn't be able to put on a good show if you guys didn't stay, so cheers to that. My guys, God, they've put a hell of an effort in to bring out 3 cars, and for us all to make the aim, I couldn't be more proud. And yeah, well done to Caleb, well done to Joel, well done to everyone else. It was a quick track, and yeah.
Like, congratulations. We'll see you back at the shop as well.
Well, sure.
All right, that's Jacob McIntyre, your runner-up here at Central Motor Speedway. Getting over to Joel Myers Jr. We gave it a hell of a run through lap traffic, and Joel talked this race through some heavy lap traffic, had a long green flag run there, and I know you want to get a win, but nonetheless, you're on the podium here at Central Motor Speedway.
Yeah, for sure. Just our stuff hasn't been the greatest all weekend, and just kind of you get stuck in heat races that it's all finishing points. So yeah, just, we didn't have the greatest starting spots in heat races to kind of put us in the dash. So that kind of put us behind the 8 ball. But, we got going. That, finally having that red flag, kind of helped us just kind of reset and get going again. So, yeah, just can't thank Dan and the whole Anderson family enough for bringing me and Brenham out here and just letting us build an empire of a race team over here. So can't thank them enough. And Nate, Jamie's been flying down, just everybody, Cody, Dan, just everybody part of this. Johnny from Burnside's here this weekend, so, and Greg back at home. So just can't thank everybody there, and Dad and Lisa enough for letting me live my dreams.
Well, strong job. We'll see you at Ruapuna Speedway next week.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, that's Joel Myers Jr., third place finisher. That's going to do it from down trackside. Champagne is about to fly. Once again, thank you to all the race fans for hanging with us through the rain, the wind, and that was a good main event. Daryl, I'll send it back up to you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Gary, and thanks everyone for coming out tonight. What an absolutely fantastic event. Central Motor Speedway, take a bow. What an enjoyable weekend. Gary, a massive thank you to you. Put your hands together, folks, for the winners here. Round 2 of the Hydraulink War of the Wings.
Well, what a great feature race that was, and I hope you enjoyed seeing Tanner Holmes running through the field. And Jamie Duff in those early laps, he was certainly making up ground on Caleb Montgomery, but the Duff man did say afterwards, you do not need to make a very big mistake before you're chewed up and spat out.
No, especially not the speed these guys are travelling at. The smallest mistake will send you back a couple of places, which is what happened to Jamie, unfortunately, but it was a hell of a run for Caleb Montgomery there, and I don't think there was any denying him that feature win from that green flag drop. I know that, Jamie was certainly carrying a lot of speed, but Caleb looked very, very comfortable out there, and I was very pleased for them to pick up that win.
Yeah, and Jacob McIntyre, the big fella from the deep south there, he was close enough just to capitalise on that small mistake. So McIntyre, he really did make some big inroads down there.
Oh, definitely. And you've got to be there when those drivers make those mistakes to capitalise on them, as you said there. And like with Joel charging from behind as well, and you had Zachary Sokol was also in there until he pulled off with an issue, and it was the battle through there that Joel had to get through to make it onto the podium as well was very impressive.
Yeah, and some of the local drivers are getting very, very close in the point standings. Remembering that this campaign runs right through to February, so when you've got guys like Jacob McIntyre, Matthew Levisage, Caleb Bourne, when you've got guys like that just snapping away at the heels, that'll be putting them in a good position. A lot of work already for Connor Rangi, but one of the things, you get 30 points for turning up to each round. Mm-hmm. And so it's not going to take very long before drivers start absorbing the Americans into the mix, and they're going to sort of fall out the bottom end eventually.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of having a series that spans over so many different tracks, and as you say, up until February, I think there's 8 rounds in total for this year's campaign, and there's a lot that can happen in between those, and we saw those late point changes in last year's edition of the series as well to watch Connor be able to take out the win over Joel as well. So it's definitely, you can't count anybody out this early.
Yeah, and I think Dylan Forsey is going to improve on his third place in last season's and the season before standings. That kid is looking really good.
It's definitely one to watch for sure.
Okay, on to this weekend at Ruapuna, Friday night and Saturday night. Entry list not quite finalised just yet, but it looks like we're going to have sort of like that 21, 23 cars here. A little bit disappointing, I've got to say, when there's not a heck of a lot of traffic coming up from the deep south, but that's going to be a really good field here.
I think the quality of the field that we've got, that we're expected to see this weekend is second to none. We've got all 7 Americans, of course, and the guys that we're seeing that are super competitive here at Ruapuna as well, and I just think that nothing's guaranteed here at Ruapuna. We've got a very, very competitive sprint car field, so 23, 24 sprint cars, whatever it ends up being, that there's 15 plus guys that could win, so it definitely ramps up the intensity for a lot of these competitors as well, but it also puts on a great show.
Yeah, and not only do the Christchurch registered drivers consider this home, but I think that Joel Myers and Jonathan Allard would also call Ruapuna their New Zealand home. And
they've got a lot of fans here as well that would back that up as well. It's always special to be a part of Victory Lane and see the reaction to their wins, and we claim them as Kiwis almost. Of course, Allard spent a lot of time here as well, but even Joel is now multiple years into this campaign with Daniel Anderson, so it's really cool to have them be a part of the show very consistently.
Yeah, so we will keep you up to date with the Hydraulink War of the Wings. Go to the War of the Wings Facebook page, War of the Wings Sprint Cars, or warofthewingssprintcars.co.nz. Remember, for this weekend you can get your tickets online at ruapunaspeedway.co.nz. Can't be here? You might, if you're phoning sick, Lou, buy the stream, rjptv.co.nz. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to watch 2 nights of really good sprint car racing, part of the Hydraulink War of the Wings series, and part of Winging It, which is brought to us by the team at Suck It Up. So until next time, when it's show time, it's go time.
A big thanks to Suck It Up for their support of Winging It. They are your go-to guys for hydro excavation, vacuum loading, CCTV survey, high pressure cleaning and road sweep. Visit suckitup.co.nz.